Today I'm in conversation with Charme. You live in Bruges and you hail from the Philippines, and you have lived in other countries, which I'm sure we'll touch upon in our conversation. You're widely traveled, you love traveling, and like me, you're a former cabin crew, flight attendant, and now you are a project manager. So the topic I wanted to explore with you today is what it takes to be settled and what is being settled when we move, given we move countries. So I'd like to start, if I may, by asking you, what would you say is being settled for you?
Good question. Good question, Claire. Since I have been moving since I'm now 38 years old and I've been moving around since I was 20, being settled, I realized early on while I was traveling was really wherever my family is. I feel settled and comfortable is the first word of being settled. Comfortable and at peace when I am with any member of my family. So it can be just for a weekend together, spend time with a family member of mine, and I feel settled with them because I am really at peace with myself and I know the person I am with really loves me. So that's the kind of feeling that I have with being settled, being with somebody that I love. And it can be in any moment of time. It can be a very short one, it can be a very long stay, but whoever I'm with a loved one, I am feeling settled.
Mm,
So being comfortable and at peace.
thank you. Thank you very much. And when you've moved countries, and let's touch upon where you've lived.
Yes.
So tell me where you've lived and for how long in each country.
All right. Well, first, 24 years of my life, I lived in the Philippines, in Manila. And then I moved to Brussels in Belgium for 2 years. And then I moved to the US actually for 6 months. I was with my family as well in the US. And then I traveled the world for 1 year. And then I went back to Belgium for 6 months. And then Qatar for 6 years. And now I am back in Belgium again for 5 years now. Yeah, there. So, but in essence, it's Philippines, Belgium, and Qatar were the longest.
Yes. And so would you say that when you lived in the Philippines, given that was with your family, that was a period, clearly you mentioned that if you're with people you love and who you're connected to, you feel settled. So you obviously, growing up in Philippines, have that experience to draw on. So when you've moved to another country, and you mentioned you moved to America and your family were with you, but when you went to Qatar or when you first came to Belgium, was another family member with you or were you on your own?
Yeah, so actually, because my parents are separated, actually, and it's my mother who lived in and is based in Belgium, and my father is the one who is based in the US. So the only place where I did not have any family member, and I was on my own was Qatar, indeed.
Very good, thank you. And
Mhm.
so let's look at Qatar then. So when you moved to Qatar, how and you were on your own, what were some of perhaps the unexpected challenges that you met, or indeed the opposite, pleasant surprises that you met in the face of being settled in a country where you didn't have one of your parents immediately there?
Good question. I will need to think about that because, to be honest, Qatar was a dream life for me since I was a little girl. It was a dream to be a flight attendant. And when I realized that dream, the moment I was in Qatar, because I knew I was going to be a flight attendant, every day was a dream, and I could not believe that I was living my dream. So in the beginning, everything, of course, is an adventure, and everything, every day with the training to be a cabin crew, to finally 2 months of training, by the way, to be a cabin crew, and then finally stepping in the aircraft within my first ever flight in my entire life, the moment I've been waiting for to say, welcome on board. Everything was so magical and dreamy, and I was so extremely happy during that moment because it was a dream come true. So to be able to feel settled, I would say that when the company accommodation provided us our own accommodation, right? I was sharing with two other girls in an apartment, but I had my own bathroom and I had my own spacious room, and I had to make my room really homey and for myself, and where I really also learned how to cook, because before I normally had to rely on deliveries or with my mother's cooking or my family members cooking. But when I was alone in Qatar, then I really had to learn how to be very independent, and to be settled with that independence is really learning how to cook, making your apartment your own. And since I travel a lot during that time, then the Qatar became, and the apartment provided by the company was really home. It became my nest, let's say. And I felt really settled when I knew that this was dream life, and this was, I am living my dream life. So at that moment, I knew I was settled to live that adventure, and I was settled with that fact, even if
Mm,
there was a lot of movement with that, let's say.
mm.
I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make
Yeah,
sense for you?
it does. It does make sense. Given you were living with two other people, they were crew as well, cabin crew as
Yes,
well.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So given you were living with them, and given the importance of people for that sense of giving you the experience of feeling settled in an environment, did they become like new family members, or were you all ships in the night, given you had different schedules and things like that?
You're right. With the two ladies I was living with, we did not really see each other so much because we had different schedules. But luckily, you reminded me that actually I have two very close friends from when in the Philippines who are living in Qatar. So the first one was my choir member. I was in a choir during university times, and I was singing for a good 7 years in that choir, university choir, and one of them is a member and is now living in Qatar. So he was like a big brother to me. And he was also part of a group, of a theater group in Qatar. And of course, he introduced me to this theater group. And I would say that because I love singing, and singing is home and my familiarity and my happiness, then that can also be a part of feeling settled, because was part of a group in Qatar, and I was very close with this older brother. I treated him. And the other girl that is a very close friend of mine was a elementary classmate since I was 9 years old. So it was really a sister living in the same city as me, and we are experiencing a different life in Qatar as working abroad. And knowing that I had a sister in Qatar and also an older brother in Qatar, I would say that they were mostly like my family there and my support system when I was moving a lot. And then when I am in Qatar for a couple of days or for a few days that I do not have a flight, then they are the one, they were considered my family, and I feel really settled with them, especially because also I was still singing and doing the things I love.
Mm. That's beautiful that you essentially created family for yourself in Qatar.
That's right. That's
And
right.
and you've partially answered another question that occurred to me as you were, it's almost like you were mind reading me as you were talking about your brother, because I was thinking, oh, I wonder what it's like, how important it would be to kind of create community or be part of community to feel settled. So the singing group became very important. Say a bit more about the importance of group, if that was important to you.
Yes, because I'm very extrovert, and I because it gives me energy to be around people. now at my age, I think I accepted that fact. It's a fact. I really need to be around people. And while I was in the high school and university, I was part of the mountaineering group. So I like hiking and the outdoors. So I was part of a group as well of other college students who were passionate about climbing mountains and the outdoors. And plus, I was part of the university choir, which allowed us to travel the world as well, sing in churches and sing in different places around the world. My first travel was with this university choir for 3 months in Europe. And we were also competing and achieving a goal of when you are performing, it is a different kind of high when you are sharing your talent and your heart in front of people, and it gives me a certain kind of high, especially when it's shared. It's a shared passion, and then you're presenting it to the world. So being in a group is really important to me in that sense. Those are my two core group when I was growing up. So university in the choir, and so I treat them as family until now. I have a very good relation with these people who were part of those during those times.
Mm. And it sounds lovely that singing was a continuing connection. You know, if
That's
that was
right.
such a big experience, important experience, and then taking it into Qatar. And
Yes, correct.
what about settling into Qatar itself? I know from my own experience as cabin crew, you spend a lot of your time when you're in the country preparing to leave again, when you're in
That's
your
right.
home environment. And you're on the move a lot of the time, either traveling within the country to get to the airport or whatever, but you're pretty much on the move a lot. So on your days off in Qatar, did you want to rest, or were you curious about getting to know Qatar?
Aside from I had a group that when I have my days off, I can perform with them. Actually, I met a guy as well. So I was in a relationship with somebody in while I was living in Qatar. And actually, we also lived together for a good 3 years. And luckily, because of the Qatar Airways tickets and family tickets and discounted tickets, we were able to travel around um, a lot. So I'm mostly settled during that time in the airplane and the airports because I'm so comfortable the moment I step in an aircraft. I'm sure you know the feeling of that, and you're like you know your way around the airport even with your eyes closed. So I can say that I felt also settled during that time because I met my now ex, and I thought that I will be settling in the future with this guy during that time, which it did not happen, but it's all right. It was such a learning experience to me that time in Qatar.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And interestingly, so if you had a relationship with somebody who was from Qatar, was he from Qatar as well?
Actually, no,
No,
no, but
no.
he is a Muslim, but he's not from Qatar. He's Middle Eastern for sure.
Mm.
Yes, but he's
So
not Qatari.
no. So would you say after 5 years you have a deep sense of knowing Qatar, or not really, given home was the airport and the aircraft?
And what's funny is in Qatar, the population, 80% of the population are all foreigners. So only 20% are the local Qatari. I would say that, so the opportunity to connect with other nationalities there, yes, but there are so many Filipinos as well, so many Filipino restaurants, so many um, opportunity to be with fellow Filipinos. So, to be honest with you, to answer you, no, I did not really because Qatar is such a different melting pot altogether. So it's not really. I would say that because I am surrounded by everybody who are not from there, then it's a different experience.
Mm.
Yeah, we are all not from there.
Yeah.
So we are all trying to find a house or a home in Qatar, making a living.
Mm. So interesting. That leads me to another thought. How important is it in being settled in a country, and you can refer to Qatar or a different country, in being employed? How important is it, or not necessarily being employed, it could be self-employed or entrepreneurial. I don't want to make a specific definition, but how important is it to kind of carve your way in terms of working?
Well, that's the thing about I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this, but since you are living in Qatar, you are really not 100% settled because you are dependent on your job. So the only reason that you are living in Qatar is because of your job. And because the moment that they let you go, then you do not have a job, then you do not have any reason to stay there. So it is a very unsettling feeling to be there. You think that yes, everything is great because it's tax free and it's actually very safe. And gas price is so cheap. It's 20 euro cent for a liter of gas. It's so cheap, more expensive than the water is even more expensive than gas. But in reality, after 6 years of being there, I start to realize that um, it's not something for long term. So I admire people who are still there and they are managed to bring all their family there. But at the end, nobody become permanent resident there, and you are all dependent on the job that you have. So when it's time to go, then you leave the country. And that's the difference of being here in Belgium, because then when I realized that when I moved to Belgium and then in my after 6 years of Qatar, I was experiencing the no salary, no tax kind of salary. And then I went to Belgium and then I had to pay tax and I was so surprised. And then, but when pandemic happened and then I did not have a job, the government supported you, gave you that support, which not my other friends in Qatar did not experience, because once they were furloughed or let go, then they have to go back to the Philippines. So then I realized, oh, that's the difference of living in Qatar, where you are not fully settled, and living here, I am here and I know I'm protected, let's say, by the government, or I have the right to be here, so nobody can kick me out like that. I don't know if that answers the question. What do you
Brilliantly,
think?
and yeah, totally, and fascinating. I appreciate you giving the insight into Qatar, and and then coming to Belgium. Then, yeah, it's a totally different experience, and it sounds like you were fortunate that you had moved to Belgium
Yes.
before COVID.
Yes, that's right. That's correct. Actually, it happened. I moved back on May 2019. And after 6 years of being in Qatar, I'm fortunate to have that residency here because of my mom. So
Mm,
I am a permanent resident in Belgium because I am a daughter of European Union holder.
yeah.
So and then I started to find a job here. So when I started working here in Belgium, then my mentality of like working condition of being in a very strict environment, I had to adjust now with the Belgian or European kind of environment, because it was quite strict in Qatar. I think everybody knows that by now, that like well, the fact that I can wear jeans to go to work, and I'm like, oh, I can wear jeans, and they're like, why not? And small things like that, like, oh, I can have like I can eat something while I'm at my desk, and they said, why not? And all of this adjustment for me, that was, yes, it was really, the difference was really there for sure.
Mm. And that's maybe part of whether one settles easily or not, because uh, you took habits or things you'd got used to in Qatar that didn't apply in Belgium. So when you were assimilating into Belgium, did you meet some unexpected challenges?
I came from the strict environment to a more relaxed environment. Then I am like, I am so lucky to be here. I was really grateful. And because I already survived the strict environment and the high stress, high pressure kind of lifestyle, to go to this other side made me really relaxed, and it was such a
Mm,
contrast. And it's like I experienced everything already there, and now everything is just going to be fine, something like that.
mm. That's lovely. And did people find you, did people get interested in your experience of another country? Did, you know, if you say, can you do this? And they're surprised at your question, were they curious as to why you asked that question?
Yes, mostly in the office and while I was working, because there were a lot of protocols and procedures while I was in Qatar. So, but they understood because I had to explain that it was a really different working environment in Qatar. But for other, I'm thinking about it like for other areas, I would say the difference there's not much difference in Qatar, because I told you I was hanging out with international people as well in Qatar. But now the difference that I am experiencing is the Belgians being very strict with their time, and also like I am coming from Philippines, and in Qatar, because people are more relaxed with the time, and you can do a last minute invitation to hang out. And but here everybody is like, you have to set the appointment to meet somebody like 1 month 1 month in advance. Hey, are you available? Let's have coffee. And they will use the calendar to um to meet each other. There's always like, you have to set appointments. And I realized that last time that I like to be more carefree and more spontaneous, although this is not possible here, not so much.
You've moved recently from Brussels to Bruges, and I focus on moving countries, but when you move cities or state or anything like that, there's still that huge upheaval of change. So I'm curious as to how your transition has been moving from Brussels to Bruges.
Brussels and Bruges is 99 or 100 kilometers away, and that's an hour train ride, a direct train ride. But the language changed after 30 minutes outside of Brussels. So from French or international English in Brussels, then you will be in a Dutch speaking place called Bruges. Luckily, Bruges is very international because it's a tourist spot. But of course, when you start to live in Bruges, then you will need to be integrated. And to be integrated means I have to learn the language. So, for the purpose of, I will admit that I did study the language for the purpose of nationality. And an interesting fact, actually, when I applied for nationality, online in the European Union like website, they will tell you if you are in Belgium, you just need to speak any of the three national language, which is French, Dutch, and German. And since I lived in Brussels, I studied French, and I already have the certification for A2 level, which is needed for nationality. But then I moved to Bruges. So when I applied in Bruges and I asked, can I have the nationality, please? Okay, here is my French certificate. Actually, I speak one of the national language already. And they said, oh, no, we don't accept that here because you're in Bruges. You have to be integrated here. You have to study Dutch. So I'm like, okay. So what was that for? In the website, it clearly stated that, but yeah, different rules apply per city, per region. So I had to study Dutch. So right now, I will admit that I am not like fully conversational. I can get by outside with basic, and if I'm in the supermarket or in the restaurant, I do can go ahead and speak the language, but I am not fully integrated in the sense that I was actually thinking about your question of feeling settled, and I will admit I am not feeling so settled here in Bruges yet, just because I realized that the most important component for me of being settled is community. And right now, I am not there yet. I don't have the community yet in Bruges, especially because I work remotely. And then I do study the language when I had some classmates learning Dutch. They all went to different cities as well. They don't live here anymore. So yeah, I am still trying to find the way to be integrated with the language as well, to learn more the language as well.
Thank you.
Interesting fact about the nationality requirement.
Absolutely. And very interesting what you're saying about, you know, how you're going to settle. And I'm curious, singing was your access in Brussels. Now, if you took a similar approach, would you need to be singing in Dutch in
Uh,
Bruges or
I have to look around. I have to search for a group. So right now I saw there is a choir. So of course, singing in a choir can have multiple languages in multiple languages. So it's fine to be able to join there. But recently I actually applied or I auditioned for a play in Brussels. So I was accepted as part of the chorus, as the part of the ensemble in that show, but it's in Brussels, so I need to travel again to Brussels. But at least I feel kind of integrated, and I will have a bit of community. Although I will need to travel to Brussels, I just need to find that here in Bruges, and I think I will find my way this year. I am telling myself this year I have to be able to find a group to join into.
mm. And do you think maybe your access to community might come through something else, through a different interest or something? Are you considering other ways in which you can create community or be part of a community in Bruges?
I got inspired with your other guest, Ella, because she made the community and she established the community herself. So I'm like, if I cannot find a way to have community, then perhaps I will just create my own community as well. And then the importance of course, practicing Dutch, keeping that in mind.
Mm, yeah, very good. Thank you. And if you're going to draw on other episodes, another episode is an episode with Jennifer, who is my nutrition coach. And one of her guiding principles that she shared with me, having made her move, was letting it be new. Allowing that new space that you're in to be whatever it is. And
Mm,
because it is naturally so easy for us to try and find our way, to make that place fit us. Whereas how do we fit it? Do you know what I mean? And
mm,
obviously the both are important because you need to be true to yourself. Um, and at the same time, there's an opportunity to allow the environment to be new and maybe see what shows up. Do do
yeah.
you do you see anything interesting in that piece of advice?
Yes, actually, I am very open because you know that I travel a lot. So I really open myself up to what is out there and to make it new in the sense that maybe actually in front of our house is a home for the aged. So old people living alone and in a cared environment. And probably something I can just cross the street and maybe practice my Dutch with speaking with old people and practicing and making their day as well if they're alone. So something like that I can also do. I am very open to try new things and I really like to open doors and see which one or knock on doors and see which one will open for me. That's how
Mm,
I approach things to try. Like
very
I the
good.
audition as well. The audition, I'm like, I need to try something. I need to audition for this play. And I sing, but I don't normally dance. But there is a dance audition and I have to dance. And that moment I'm like, it's okay. I can dance and I am dancer. I just have to think I'm a dancer. So when I presented myself, I danced and I gave it my shot. And then I'm like, let's see if they will get me. And luckily they got me and they accepted my audition. So I'm really excited for that.
It's lovely. And how long will you need to be in Brussels for?
The main rehearsals will be on September. So anyway, I have family there. I still have my family there, so I will be staying for a couple of nights if it's required.
Mm.
That's the plan.
Yeah, lovely. And you touched also upon traveling and the fact that you said you've traveled extensively and that you're always open and you learn different things. Um, say a little bit more about that. That what have you kind of picked up on that you're that you appreciate having in your arsenal, so to speak, that you're glad that along the way a lesson learned or something that you observed.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I very much like to throw myself in unknown situations. So there was a time, luckily in Qatar Airways, because I can travel with buddy tickets, which is like very discounted, cheap tickets. And there was one time that I went to the airport and I didn't know where to go. And I asked them, where can I go with the beach? And they gave me like the next flights are like Maldives, Bali, but Maldives is expensive. Bali, I've been there. And then they said, how about Krabi in Thailand? And I've never been there. And I'm like, okay, I have the bikini in my luggage. Let's go. I was alone and I don't have any idea what is in Krabi. And I just like to throw myself in those kind of situation because it really grows your confidence in yourself that number one, everything will be fine. And also the strength of trusting your gut when you're traveling alone. And also it really empowers you inside. So for all like situation in my personal life or like daily life that is like unexpected or like sad situation or anything that is unexpected, I am ready for it because I know that it will be fine, and that is aligned with throwing myself in uncomfortable situation that you don't know what is going to happen, but it's okay because I trust my instinct and I know Google is there and I will be fine. So I really like that because most of the people I know, of course, traveling alone is also scary and it comes with in your life as well. You plan so much, you want things to go your way, but not all the time things will go your way. And when
Mm,
that happens, what will you do? And
mm,
that's the kind of flexibility and agility I learned with traveling solo
mm,
or traveling a lot. I think that's my number one takeaway. That's why I really encourage my friends. You have to travel alone. You have to be able to count on yourself. You have to learn how to read Google Maps. And trust your instincts.
beautiful. And when you have experienced something that doesn't go your way, what is something you've discovered out of that, out of literally taking your own coaching advice that you've just shared? What is something you've discovered? If have you got a story or an example of when something doesn't go to plan?
I went to Philippines in December 2020 with the intention to stay 2 weeks to fix documents. And it was COVID time, right? It was a bit tricky to travel that time. But going to Philippines in the airport, I lost my Belgian ID. I was not a citizen yet. So I had a Philippine passport with the Belgian residency. And for your information, if you are a Philippine passport holder and you are only a resident of the EU, once you leave wherever you are coming from and going back to the EU, you have to physically have your ID. But because I lost the ID, I don't know where I lost it. Um, I had to stay from 2 weeks. It became 1 month and a half because of COVID, because of holidays. I had to request a new residency card, and I was feeling so lonely that time because my then fiance, now husband, was alone, and then he got COVID, and I was away, and all of that. I'm like, what is this? Why I cannot come back? I'm like, I am paying taxes as a resident, and why I need to apply for another residency, and why they have to double check that I really live there. They can check my passport, all of these things, and you're getting frustrated, right? But every time I get frustrated, I also take a step back and I always ask myself, and I learned this in 2011 in the US. I attended one of the Alcoholics Anonymous meetings to support a family member. And there it's always grant me that serenity to accept the things I cannot change, change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Though it really stuck with me. So all this time, like when I was in the US, Qatar, every time I am in a situation, I just think, what what do I have control right now here? What can I do? What is out of my control? So in that moment, I had to realize, hey, you are in the Philippines. You like to be in the Philippines. Go ahead and enjoy the time with your family and friends. Go ahead and eat, enjoy Christmas, because you don't have control with the documents. It's with the embassy. They are processing your papers. I cannot. I don't like to wallow too long on it. I just see what gift am I being given here? Oh, gift of time to be with my family more in the Philippines. And yes, to of course, the lesson learned there is to really be careful of that ID. By the way, I came back after a month and a half, so I came back mid-January already to Belgium, and then end of January, somebody sent me a message on Facebook saying, "Hey, I found your ID in the airport in Paris." Thank you so much for letting me know. It's kind of late, but please delete or cut that ID. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, that
uh,
was a setback that time, but
mm,
it's okay. It was a fun scenario. It was okay.
mm. But it's a really good example of a very stressful situation, and I love the advice or what you chose to empower yourself with. So yes, very good. And you have traveled extensively. So how many places have you been to? Have you covered all the continents?
Oh, I wish I can go to Antarctica. Not yet. But right now, I count the countries as well, and it's 60. I'm on 60 countries right now. Before joining Qatar Airways, I was already on 25 or 26. And then
Mm,
I added more. And of course, even if I left Qatar Airways, I still continue to travel because I really love it.
mm.
How about you, by the way?
I think I'm in around 50 something countries. I've
Ah,
I've never
okay.
counted properly, but I think it's around 50 something. And I had traveled quite extensively prior to being cabin crew, a flight
Mm,
attendant. So I think the big difference that cabin crew made was the number of cities I saw.
yes.
Not
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much,
for sure.
not so much the new country.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably been to the
That's right.
country before, but maybe this time I was going to a different city.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'd been to Canada before, but I'd never been to Vancouver, or
Mm,
I'd been to
yes.
America before, but I hadn't been to all the dozens of country cities
Yes,
I've
yes.
since been to.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I think that was the difference that the flying makes. But I like how you highlighted the countries you went to before being a flight attendant, because I think when people meet us and know that we've had that history of being a flight attendant, they assume that's why we've flown to the countries.
Yeah,
When
yes.
actually, I took an
No.
interest in being in countries long before I took an interest in being cabin crew.
Cabin crew. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
And in fact, cabin crew came out of my interest from being in different countries. So
Mm,
it was already an established lifestyle for me to
yes,
to
yes.
to be around other cultures, and so being cabin crew just fitted. Um, and so yeah, that's an impressive number of countries. And so you've done all the continents except Antarctica then.
Yes, correct. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, I
How
think
about
that
you?
I think
I'm
that's the
curious
same.
now.
I think that's the same for me. Yeah, so that's great. And um so yeah, what I love about traveling is, traveling's accessible to any of us, and obviously you and I have demonstrated that. And then moving countries is like another layer to that. So is there anything further you'd like to say about that? Just the fact that you've got the experience of both pieces, you've traveled extensively, but you've moved countries, and you've moved countries a number of times throughout those years since you were 20.
That's right. And I think what I can say about that is you can be sometimes I have friends who are feeling sad and you are not feeling well and you think that the solution will be to escape and travel, but actually it's not true because sometimes traveling is very fulfilling inside indeed, and you will have a lot of experience from it, but to think of it as an escape would also be wrong. We should also learn how to travel within us and to really explore what we are going through or experiencing as well. And also, if you haven't traveled alone or really tried to travel, I encourage everybody to go ahead and try it. Just being curious with other people, how they live their life, how they go about things, how they handle their daily lives is a very interesting perspective, and also makes you realize how small you are, how things, not that the small you are, but how the little things that sometimes we stress about when we are at home. And actually, in essence, there's a lot of other things that don't deserve our attention, I would say. And also, you can be anywhere in the world. You can be living anywhere. You can have all the opportunity that you are living right now. But if you are not in the correct mindset, everything will not connect, or you will not be happy. So everything starts within. It's not external, I would say.
Mm, thank you. And what would you say are some of the things that you're still really passionate about when it comes to traveling or moving countries?
I'm passionate about, good question. I will think about that. I am passionate about, right now, I would say I am more passionate about spending time with loved ones, because before I'm very curious, right? You're so interested to explore and experience new things. But now that I feel I'm getting old, turning to my 40s, I like to visit friends, and I like to spend quality time with loved ones more than anything. It's more important for me now, because yeah, I realize time is the most expensive asset that we only have. And that's the most expensive gift I can give to somebody, and also the most expensive gift I can receive. So I am more passionate in spending time with loved ones and reconnecting with them, and also visiting them wherever
Mm,
they are in the world.
mm. Yes, and because your family is across different countries, inevitably
Indeed.
you combine no, you combine traveling with seeing loved ones.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And do you feel that there's you've been talking about Bruges, do you feel that there's the opportunity for you to feel settled in Bruges? And do you think long term you and your husband plan to stay in Belgium? Do you think Belgium has become home, long term home?
It will be Belgium and Philippines. We both agreed to that. That if we have the opportunity, we'll do 6 months here and 6 months in Philippines. But of course, absolutely, Belgium is home. My family, my own family, my mom, my sisters are here, and my husband's family is here, and friends. And Belgium will be home, but also Philippines, not just Belgium. And especially during winter time, by the way.
Mm. Yeah,
We'll need to be in the Philippines.
yeah, you'll migrate according to the weather.
I'm lucky I'm able to have that opportunity, that I
Mm,
can have that choice.
mm. But would you say it's luck, or would you say you've created a lot of the life that you're living, really?
Hmm. Good question. I'm nervous how to answer that, because I feel from the beginning, when I was still young, we are very lucky. And I think it's my mother who also always instill with us, we are so lucky to have a roof over our head. You know? Oh, the light is changing. So in my mind, I'm always feeling so grateful and lucky, but also I would say I'm very strong-willed, because I can be fearless to try. As I said, I can try things, and I am not afraid of the end result of it. I'm not afraid to be to fail. I'm not afraid to be disappointed as well. And so I would say that it's both luck and also determination.
So have you got any parting words for the people listening in today? You've said a lot of great stuff that I think will benefit people.
All right. So for the listeners of moving countries, um, stay curious and stay excited with the life you live. And in any case that you feel down, or you feel that you are not supposed where you're supposed to be. Look within first and be thankful. Be thankful and count the blessings around you. That's how we can help each other to stay grounded and be reminded about how lucky we are to be able to get out or move countries. The opportunity of experiencing life. It's great. How lucky for all of us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. Very glad to have met you. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well, Claire.